gods and archetypes and psychic complexes.
I mean, what's the question? Say it again real slow.
Don't want to die. Nobody wants to die.
Hey, how's it going? It is August 25th, 2021, and it's time for another episode of the Comedy's Dead podcast with Josh Goldstein, with me, Josh Goldstein. Isn't that amazing how that works? I still haven't been fired from my own podcast. It's coming soon. I mean, come on. I'm pretty lazy. I'm already a week behind on a week and a half behind this episode. No, I'm a couple days behind on this episode. It doesn't matter. I don't think all 7 of you are really hanging at the edge of your fucking seat to see if I post every week on time. So it is what it is. All right, you're gonna get it when you fucking get it, and you're gonna be happy with it because that's how it works. If you're happy with it, maybe you hate listening to this and just kind of, this is just like a spite exercise to see me embarrass myself while I ramble for an hour on end every single week. If you're doing that, look, downloads are downloads, right? All press is good press. I'm gonna take it. You know what I mean? But how are you guys doing? How's life going? I'm having a fucking awesome time right now. I just I'm home for a few days. I've been on Dead Tour. It's been fucking awesome. I just did Friday, Saturday, and Monday. Just did 3 shows. It was Citi Field, New York City, and Queens, where the Mets play. Citizens Bank Park in Philly, which is where the Phillies play. And then Monday was Bethel, New York, the Bethel Woods Performing Arts Center, or Center for the Arts, which is on Max Yasgur's farm, which is where Woodstock happened. It was fucking... Dude, words can't describe what that night was. That was fucking amazing. Alright, so the people who do care, on Monday night in Bethel, New York, on the site of Woodstock, well, a couple hundred yards from the actual site, but on the amphitheater, that's, you get it. The Dead and Company recreated the Grateful Dead's set from Woodstock, which they famously bombed. And it was like supposed to be their like star crowning moment of like their record company was making the movie and the soundtrack album. They were like the headliners on Saturday night, so there was going to be a special presentation by the Joshua Light Show, who did the lights at the Fillmore East, and the Dead was they had a ceremony before the Dead set, and the Dead were going to play in front of the light show, but the screen they dropped behind them for the light show wasn't perforated, and there was a lot of wind, so it basically was picking the stage up like a sailboat. So they had to drop the flag and then cut a bunch of shit into it, but they didn't get it up until the Dead set was over. And then they had their sound man tried to reground the stage before their set, which just ended up in him fucking up the grounding and almost killing Bob Weir, the rhythm guitarist, because he got knocked onto his ass by a shock coming out of his microphone. And then they had like a 10-minute delay. And then they actually played an okay set, but it just doesn't take off. And it's not like, if 1969 Dead played to 500,000 people and had a great set, they might have all just been like raptured or something. Like they might have all just like transcended. Like if the Dead did what the Dead did at that time at Woodstock, it would be talked about way beyond Jimi Hendrix's set. And I say this as somebody who listened to the entire fucking festival last week because I'm an autistic person, I think. You know how I think I think in the last week, I think I've realized I might be autistic. And here's why. 1, I never shut up about this one subject, which is this one band. 2, half of that band's songs are about trains. Like, that's the most autistic shit I can think of, right? I mean, that is... Like, I think I'm just autistic. I don't know. But yeah, I listened to all 40 hours of the 1969 Woodstock Festival, and I watched all of it. I didn't just like this. Here's what happened. There's a couple years ago, I was like getting into psychedelic rock, and I watched the Woodstock movie, and I was like, I want to hear more sets. And then I found this message board online that had basically spent decades compiling all known audio sources from Woodstock to try to make a complete version of the festival. And that's like audience tapes, soundboards, like anything they could find to, that's to get like stage announcements, interviews, like everything. And they compiled it all into like this Woodstock Complete project. And in 2019, Rhino Records released everybody's set commercially, which kind of fucked up the project. But there's a lot of gaps that are missing, and I had that on my laptop, and I spent basically all of quarantine listening to the Dead. So I ended up just going like, fuck it. I didn't know how long it was gonna last, so I was like, I'm just gonna listen to every set chronologically. And I was at Woodstock, like that was like where I was in the chronology of their sets. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna listen to this whole festival. I got a couple days off work. So I did that, and then I saw them recreate their fucking set and get it right this time. Yeah, that was a special night, man. It really was. I mean, fucking. Actually, if you look at my Instagram story, my personal account at Goldstein, I synced up the parts of the songs I was able to record, to their like the part it corresponds to in the actual set on video. So that's a cool thing if you want to check that out on my account. It's at Goldstein, and the videos are up. Yeah, it was just a really special night. I mean, they did like St. Stephen's, like their most popular song, "Into Mama Tribe," which is an old Merle Haggard song. It's a country song about ignoring your mom's warnings and going to jail for life. And then they played "Dark Star," a really good one for 22 minutes, and then "Into High Time," which is one of Jerry's best ballads. And then they played "Turn On Your Love Light" out of that, which is the best dance song that the Dead have. Everybody just had. I mean, "Love Light" starts and everybody just gets grooving. It was so cool. And then after Drums in Space, they didn't go, they'd done the Woodstock set, so they just did a couple other songs. But instead of closing on what they intended to close on, they just went back into Love Light for another few minutes, and everybody just got to jam out again. It was awesome. And then they did Ripple, which is their most touching song, as the encore. It was a really special night. Went out there with my buddy Joe. It was a really good time. But yeah, Friday, that was the third show I went to. So Friday, I drove to New York with my dad, and we ended up going to the City Field show. We stopped in New Haven along the way. Which is the best pizza city I've ever been to, if we're being honest. Better than New York, better than Boston. Sally's is better than Frank Pepe's. I will say that. I went to Modern. A lot of people say Modern's better than Sally's. Unfortunately, like when you get a pizza, and if you pull a slice too soon, the cheese won't stick to the pizza, and it just melts everywhere. And that's what my fucking dad did. And I can't get too mad because he paid for it, but yeah, he ruined the pizza. I'm just gonna say it. Although he did burn his mouth doing it, so I was like, that's what you get. But he ruined the pizza because all the cheese was falling off the slice. So I couldn't really accurately review it, but it was an okay pizza. I thought Sally's might be the best pizza I've ever fucking had. That was the best pizza ever. Yeah, and then we ended up going to the show. Dude, all three shows are among the three best shows I ever saw. Like, it was such an amazing weekend. Like I fucking City Field. It was awesome. I mean, they just like it just feels like Mayer has like he finally just is able to like just let go and let the music come to him. I mean, he's always been a great guitarist, but doing the jam band thing is a very specific thing, and I think he's always been over conscious of whose shoes he's stepping into, whose Air Max 90s he's stepping into, and Jerry. Yeah, I mean he's been awesome the last couple shows, and the set list for the people who aren't into this one band, listening to there's a lot of Deadheads who listen to this, but there's also a lot of just people I know. For the ones who aren't into it, yeah, I mean you should if they're coming into Boston the 2nd and 3rd of next month, so September, so in 8 days, next Thursday and Friday, you should go. Man, dude, they're just getting better and better. And although there was sad news, okay, it's sad, but it's painful. It shouldn't be this funny because it's sad. A guy died at Citi Field the other night. He tried to backflip off of a balcony 30, 40 to 50 feet below him and land on the ground. There was the best case scenario was he died, right? Like, I know it's not funny. I want to be very clear. I don't think this man's death is funny. But he was drunk and on acid at a concert and tried to do a backflip off a balcony. Now, if I've been drunk and on acid at a concert, I've never tried to backflip 50 feet onto concrete. So, I don't know. I mean, okay, here's the specific funny thing was that the quote from the person. They only quoted one witness, and the quote is, "I heard people going and see people running." I said, "Bro, someone took a fucking header." A fan told the paper, which is it's not funny. Okay, this guy, he's like, I hopefully don't think he has kids. The guy, because that would be yeah, it's not funny. I mean, it's a very sad story. But I said, dude, someone took a fucking header. Is such a fucking perfect quote of they clearly just interviewed another dude on acid at a concert, and that was his immediate reaction. Like, someone told me the story. I didn't know it happened until in Philly the next night. I was sitting in the pit. I didn't know what happened until this girl's telling me the story, and I just start like It was when I heard that quote, I couldn't hold in the laugh. It's like, it's not funny, but it's, you know, it's sort of like I find news quotes very funny when they like quote somebody, and it's like nothing they can say is gonna add something to the story. Like I saw a story the other day. It was about, again, a not very funny story. It was about a little kid who drowned in a pool. Um, there's nothing funny about that. But the lady they interviewed was was just like, you just never you never see something like that coming. I was like, you'd hope not. Like, yeah, imagine if they fucking interview this lady after this kid died, and she's just like, yeah, that little if look, if it wasn't a pool, it was gonna be a hot car. That kid was not gonna last. Like, what could she say in that situation? She's like, yeah, it's horrible. It's just, you're just putting somebody in front of a camera in a terrible moment, and they're not in their best state to react because something horrible just happened. The quote you're gonna get is never gonna be good, is what I'm saying. Like, it's just, yeah, there's too much, but it's. Luckily, I guess I didn't see it happen, or I didn't hear about it, because it didn't put a damper on, my parade. I didn't hear it till the next day. Although, I love traveling like that. I mean, really, this band is just giving me an excuse to travel. Where it's like, I know no matter what, in every city I'm in, I have people I know, and I have a place I can stay. In an emergency. Like, there's always somewhere safe to go. There's always somebody I can text, and I think that's really the value of I love the music too. So it gives me this great combination of things where I can travel for much cheaper than I ever would. Notwithstanding, and going longer, crazier road trips, and feel cool about it. I've been to New York probably 7 or 8 times or 10 times in the last couple of years, and I love the city. But I've checked out Brooklyn, I've checked out Manhattan. I've done a lot of stuff in Manhattan. I never really like spent time in Queens, and before we drove to Philly on Saturday morning. Me and my dad just kind of like drove around to some of the neighborhoods and just hung out in Flushing and saw like their Asian town, and got food from street vendors. And we stopped in this little Vietnamese restaurant, and we got summer rolls and Vietnamese iced coffee. And if you don't know what that is, they basically steep hot coffee over sweetened condensed milk, and then when it's done brewing, you pour it over ice, and then you stir it up, and it's an unbelievable form of coffee. And we got some of that. We got some summer rolls. It was some of the best Vietnamese food I've ever had. Then we went to a street cart, got some desserts, some like sesame balls, and some like a sweet potato ube ball. It was it's going off the beaten path to like a neighborhood that nobody Queens isn't a tourist neighborhood, but doing like those little things where you just like immerse yourself. That's really the cool thing about New York City, I think, is, you walk a couple blocks in one direction, you can just completely immerse yourself into a different culture, you know? Um, and I think Queens, more than any other borough, might represent that. Just in the little time I spent there, it was like, this is, like, Manhattan's talked of as, just New York is, in general, is talked of as a melting pot, and Brooklyn is. And I've spent time in each of those places, but I guess they're so, I think gentrified is the wrong word, right? Because, I guess the nature of all neighborhoods is they do change, right? I mean, like, like for the fucking North End isn't really all Italian anymore. It's a bunch of yuppies now, or Southies getting, you know, I guess that's like the nature of things, right? Because um, like, yeah, cities are always changing. You know what I mean? Like I guess the people who were in the neighborhoods in like the 1880s are probably like, yeah, this is probably a different demographic than when I moved in. Isn't it weird how like there goes the neighborhood used to mean that like minorities were moving into a neighborhood and devaluing it, and now it just means that a new coffee shop has opened up. You just have a new place to get overpriced espresso, and then in 2 years you're going to be forced out because the rent's going to be raised. But yeah, I don't know. I I like how I was starting a thing there about the housing crisis, and then I quickly realized that I am not qualified to talk about this issue, and then I just moved on to another thing and made a joke because that's how I am. Um, the self-awareness is a huge thing because sometimes on this podcast you try to fill enough time, you just start getting preachy, and you gotta catch yourself. I can't I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I guess what I'm saying is when you look at like history on a greater scope of things, and it's more just a piece of land than going like, well, this people, like neighborhood or whatever. It's just like, look, I get that. I don't even mean on a demographic standpoint. I just mean like in the people who live in the neighborhood. Yeah, like that's I guess what I'm saying is I hate when people are getting blamed for moving into neighborhoods that are historically lower income, when it's like, well, they wouldn't have moved there if they didn't have to. Like, it's not the so-called gentrifiers' fault that they had to move to your neighborhood. It's the piece of shit bankers who are charging so much that they can't move to a so-called white neighborhood. But those neighborhoods don't really exist in Manhattan anymore. Like you can't. Hell's Kitchen is not an Irish neighborhood. Little Italy is not an Italian neighborhood. Like the only one that still is like fucking Chinatown. But even then, like, you go up to Harlem, it's not Harlem anymore. I mean, it's certainly a lot of locals are still living there, but it's all fucking transplants. Like, it's a weird city. But I guess that is just the nature of things. I mean, like, especially with the way the population's growing, like, there's just nowhere for people to live anymore, and like everybody wants to move to a city because all the reasons why. What am I talking about? No, so we drove to Philly the next day. Got some fun. Me and my dad got up. My dad and I. So I'm so smart. I have grammar. Um, my dad and I were sitting in the pit in Philly, which was awesome. Although I think I tore my MCL, which was not awesome. They were playing Jackstraw in the first set, and it was the golden hour, and it was raining all day. I got my poncho on and everything, and then as they're playing that song, the sun moved out of the clouds, and it was the golden hour, and everybody's looking up, and it was just like, man. And it was the specific point in the song where it's this like really beautiful mellow part, because it's a rock song that has like these like slow sections, and it came out during a slow section. And it was just like, those timing things that if I had to, there's something about going to a Dead concert. There's just these little moments of timing things that have like perfect miraculous coincidences that could only happen with their music because of it's so improvisational. Um, I don't know if I necessarily believe in manifesting things, but I do think, if there's enough I don't know, if there's just enough good energy, like if if you get 60,000 people in one area and a lot of them are on psychedelics and they're all just generally nice, kind, gentle people, like I think the universe just has a way of, rewarding that. That's probably because I was on drugs when it happened. But, you know, let me live in fuck it, It's definitely because I was on drugs when it happened. But, mushrooms are mushrooms. Actually, I got a funny story. So because of the rain, they didn't know how long they were going to be able to play, so they just played one extremely long set instead of the normal two-set show they did with a lot less songs. But in order to fill time, because they were just trying to, they just jammed every song out way harder than they normally did. It was fucking sick. But I wasn't able to get a set break, so I didn't get time to sit down or get water. And either my leg cramped up or I suffered some ligament damage. But it was the second to last song, and my leg just kind of gave out on me. It just felt like jello, and the inside of my knee doesn't feel very stable. I'm having a lot of pain with it. But so during Morning Dew, which is the most cathartic song the Dead play, Mayor's shredding it, great solo. I had to wander out of the pit, and I'm in the middle, so I had to ask everybody to move during the best fucking song. I felt like such a dickhead. And then I get to the medical guy, and because I was on the pit, there is no way to get into the medical room without wheelchairing me in front of the stage. So it's during the encore. By the way, I'm on drugs, so I'm dancing to the song in the wheelchair, like like what's that? The Numa Numa A guy. I look like that. I'm just fucking jamming out in a wheelchair, and they wheel me across the stage during the encore, and I made eye contact with Oteil Berbers, the bassist, and he's like, I think he was panicked because he had seeing me in a wheelchair because I think he had heard the story the night before, and because there's this look of sheer horror on his face, and then I just smile, I give him a thumbs up, and he just like he laughs and just starts grooving to the song. It was such a cool moment, and then I'm in the medical room during they did a second encore. They did Broke Down Palace, which is a good sad song about death, and the medical guy was like, you taking anything tonight? And I was like, some weed. And he's just like, dude, your pupils are fucking gigantic. What did you take tonight? I was like, I ate some mushrooms. And he's just like, all right, well, you gotta hydrate more. I was like, there's no set break. What am I supposed to do? And then but he was like, it's not an emergency because your ACL and your LCL are intact, so you can walk. So I mean, we could take you to the hospital, but ambulances are a lot of money. And I was like, I appreciate the way you phrase that. So I can walk on and I'm okay. And I went to the concert on Monday on it. I don't know, maybe a little bit if it's psychosomatic, maybe. I don't know. I mean, but it's yeah, so I'm getting checked out tomorrow. But yeah, so 2 fucking awesome nights in city and Philly. Then we drove home from Philly Sunday night and ended up meeting up with my buddy Monday morning and going to Bethel for the Woodstock show. So that was yeah, that was my weekend, man. It was oh, I got Pat's and Geno's on Sunday morning. Just because I had to do the cheesesteak thing. I know they're not the best places, but John's Roast Pork, which was the place I wanted to try, was closed, and I could have tried Tony Luca or D'Alessandro's, but I mean I've had Pat's before, but I had to just do the Pat's versus Geno thing once, and then next time I'll go get better cheesesteaks. But dude, Pat's blows Geno's out of the fucking water. Geno's had a longer line, so I thought it'd be better. But dude, Pat's is so much fucking better. I mean, Geno's it's a little thicker cut. It's rubbery. The onions are kind of chunky. They're not as fried through. Pat's was like caramelized onions. Fucking, the steak was thin enough that it like melted when you eat it, and when you ate it, and it was cooked a little rarer. Versus Geno's was like it had like a chew to it. It was yeah. Although I mean, like, they were okay steak sandwiches. That's what I'll say about that. I don't if that is your city's identity, that is kind of a weird thing. I mean, I guess I get it on the point. If you come to Boston, you're like clam chowder's okay, but it's more of it's like a thing you can only get here. So I mean, there's that. But I guess what I'm saying is I've had steak and cheeses in Massachusetts that were significantly better than the cheesesteak at the 2 most iconic locations in the one city you can get a cheesesteak. And they're both just like shredded meat sandwiches on some bread with some cheese. So I guess what I'm saying is Philly people are garbage. No, I had a great time. Philly's an awesome city. New York is an awesome city. Going up to to the middle of nowhere to a farm to go to the site of Woodstock was awesome. If you look at my Instagram, I also have some really cool pictures on the Woodstock field, which I wasn't supposed to walk down it apparently because people sneak in from there. So I got yelled at, but. Nobody told me not to go down, so I did. And I got a really cool picture from where the stage was looking up the field, so looking at from the view the bands would have had. That basically syncs up perfectly with a picture of the Jefferson Airplane on stage, which is really cool. So yeah, I had a really fucking awesome week. And then last night I hung out. Where did I hang out? I was at Bell in Hand. I wasn't on the show. I was just hanging out. Del Volpe runs maybe the best weekday show in the city right now. That's a great fucking rum. Everyone murdered. Janet McNamara had a great set. The 2 out of town guys I know had a good set. Tilson did okay. I'm just fucking with him. He had a good set. He's probably not listening. And then Tookie crushed it to closed. It was like Ellington had a good set. Danny had a good set. It was a good fucking night. I just like hanging out. I like supporting my friends. Yeah, it was a good time. I got a sandwich from fucking Monica's in the North End. If you've never been to Monica's, it's the best fucking sandwiches in the city of Austin. So I got an Italian. I ate half of it. I'm gonna eat that once I'm done with this. So yeah, fucking Charlie Watts from the Rolling Stones died. Rest in peace to Charlie. One of the most, legendary drummers of all time. I mean, what else can you say? It's the Rolling Stones, man. Like, it's. I'm so glad I got to see him. In their last time in Boston with him alive. It was like the one chance I had, and yeah, man, it's fucking. And it sucks because 2 weeks ago he put out a statement. It was probably written by his family now that I think about it, but they replaced him with I want to say Steve Jordan for their upcoming tour because he was he was having health issues, and then 2 weeks later, man, you know, if you really read stories about Charlie Watts, he is one of just the best people in music. And there's a lot of pieces of shit in rock, including his own band. You know, multiple members of the band have been accused of sleeping with underage women. One married a 13-year-old or something like that. Very fucked up. But yeah, Charlie's always been known as one of the universally beloved people in rock. I like talk about it like I was there, but yeah, it's pretty sad, man. What else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, I was gonna say I did go. So when I went to their 2019 show, I got I researched what Keith Richards' favorite drink was. It's called a trash can, I think. No, it's not trash can. It was called nuclear waste. It's cranberry juice, orange juice, and orange soda mixed with vodka. And I drank way too much and sang every song way too loudly and probably ruined the show for everybody else around me. So for that, I just want to give a heartfelt apology because it has been eating on my conscience for over 2 years now. So I just had to express that thought somewhere, is that I really got too fucked up and ruined a show for a lot of people. And I don't feel good about it, especially considering that now it was the last one they were in town. Oh, yeah. Oh, I did have one thing I wanted to say. If you have I do going to all these concerts and doing because you do mushrooms or acid or something at most of these concerts. You can tell exactly how many drugs I've been doing by my Instagram captions. You know, um, like if you ever see me use the word beautiful unironically, I was fucking feeling it last night. Like that's how you know. Like, is if I'm ever if everything I wrote write as a song quote, or I'm talking about the stars, or like using heart emojis and calling everybody who replies brother, I had a good time. It was a great show. I feel more connected to my fellow man. If I ever post like a picture that doesn't make any sense and like 3 words as a caption, just know I took too much. But if everything I write is a long soliloquy about you know, about the cosmic circumstances and the timing and and all the little glances of love that the band gives each other. I was having a good time. I was really fucking feeling it. I don't know, man. I don't know if here's the thing. This is genuinely who I am and what I want to talk about, but I don't like branding myself as the drug guy. Because that's kind of what I have done just by giving the podcast this name, or just in the sense that like I don't like the thought of having expectations of like, oh, he talks about this subject, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just complaining. No, there is a weird thing of like the more you do this, the more like the advice you get is to like lean into this thing because that gets the thing with stand up that's really weird is that people have to know you in such a small instant. Um, you can't just talk about whatever you want however you want up top. Like you have to like warm them up, get them to know you. So like there's certain jokes you want to do at the end of your set that certain jokes that like you can try early in the set, but it takes a lot more work to pull them off, and you have to like really set them up the right way. And it's a weird thing where like you have to get them to know you, and so like talking about stuff like this is a good way to get people to know you. But because this is who I am. But it's also like I don't like the thought of like people just immediately associating me with something like that. Whereas like because like the people People who hate hippies immediately associate you and go like, "Oh, fuck this guy. I don't want to hear what he has to say." And the people who do like you are buying in, but now they're like you're kind of restricted to think about or talk about things in a way that they already agree with, So it's like when you're talking about subjects outside of that subject, I guess what I'm saying is like, if you're appealing to like, you know, that type of person, the way you talk about other subjects now that they know that you're into this subject and you think about things this way, it can be kind of weird because I guess what I'm saying is like people immediately try to associate you with groupthink, no matter how you identify yourself. If you just if you label yourself with anything, that they think you need to think in a homogenous way with that group. So if they're in that group, you might be one of them, but if you don't think about everything the same way they do, some people, it's not everybody, but some people will be turned off to that. And then some people will just associate you with all the thoughts that they disagree with that group has because they're not in that group. Um, and especially in like a world where everything's about identity, about like what group you're in and, you know, I'm a cis white male and I can, like all that shit where it's like I guess it's easy for me to I don't know. I mean, it's easy for me to not think about the world that way because, people say because I'm a white guy, but it's also, like, I don't know. I mean, I grew up hearing anti-Semitism every day for my fucking life. Like, I understand identity and what it's like to hear hatred and to not to feel out of place and feel like a minority and not accept yourself. I mean, it's fucked up. Like, I lived like 20 years of my life with the name Goldstein and I'm not Jewish because I wasn't raised Jewish, but only Jews think that, Um, so yeah, like I couldn't be in a concentration camp and walk up to the guy and be like, "Hey guys, I know you guys have like real strong opinions on this one, but if you want to know a secret, my mother's Catholic, so I'm just gonna get out of here." Like that's not how that works. So, dude, with a name like Joshua Goldstein, like you're Jewish, and but it took me like 20 years to like if I heard something anti-Semitic as a kid, instead of being like "fuck you," like how dare getting mad about it, I would just go like "I'm not Jewish," which is not a good response to that because like even if I'm not Jewish, that's still hatred that I'm fucking hearing, and I should Um, so I understand all these issues with identity and wanting to feel at home and validated in the world. Um, certainly not as much as someone who's a minority due to skin color would. Um, but at the same time, I just don't like to think of myself in that way. You know what I mean? Like I try to think of my sameness towards people rather than my separateness towards people. You know, um, you can't really respond to hate that way, but I don't know. It's just how I'm, I'm getting very preachy today. I don't know why. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of mushrooms lately, if you can't tell. But yeah, so I think that's kind of weird. I don't know. I don't know how to view the world. It's a very complicated subject. Where you kind of go like, I don't know. You know, I try not. I guess what I was saying, like I try. It's like you have to constantly be aware that everybody is a different thing to you, and to understand that person's struggle. But you also need to be aware enough to not treat them differently because of that. If that makes any sense, you know. It's like how do I treat you the same, but acknowledge that there are differences. Because you don't want to be one of those people who's like I don't see color. Of course you do. Like you see a black person walking down the street, you go, oh, that's a black person. Like you're not that's what you do. And they see a white person, they go, oh, it's a white person. Especially if you go to like a neighborhood where you are now the minority. It's yeah. I don't know where this started. I had a point I was building towards, right? I think I did. Uh, um, I don't know. I totally lost my fucking train of thought there. I just got derailed in being a preachy cunt. Oh yeah, I was saying like it's so like word branding. Is I guess what I'm saying is like I want people to know these things about myself and to see that, but I don't want to brand myself as anything. It's like Bob Dylan. Like not saying I'm as fucking talented as Bob Dylan, but like he started his career as just like as a folk protest singer, and then he went fuck you, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm a rock star now. And then he went, fuck you. Now I'm going to sing like down home country music with my friends and family and not try to be a voice of a generation. And then and then he goes into his blood and tracks phase. And then like, I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not who I was when I started comedy. And in 2 years, I'm not going to be who I am now. And I don't want to be. I don't want to feel like a compulsion to always have to live up to somebody I used to be. Like I always want to be what I am now. It's why I have trouble just doing my best jokes on a show instead of doing the jokes I want to talk about, because like I want to talk about these things for a reason, because that's what's going to be more authentic to me than doing jokes that I know easily get across to the audience. But now I'm making it harder on myself because I'm not warming them up in the same way that I would if I just played the hits. Yeah, this is a really fucking hard thing I decided to do. If you know anybody who's thinking about getting into stand up, dissuade them, because this is a horrible life plan. Like, how do you gain a following? You brand yourself. That's how it all works. Well, I don't want to do that. Well, you're. Well, I don't know. I'm fucked. Where are we at on time? How much time do I have? I'm at 35. I'm gonna try to hit 45. We can do it, right? You believe in me. I believe in me. We love each other. I can't. I thought I had a funny tweet I wanted to try to make sound like I is a new thought, but my phone died. So fucking dude, Mac Jones. Did you see the news today? He was like joint practice against the Giants. He was 21 of 23. Yeah, man, I think he's the truth. Um, you know, I don't know if he's gonna be Tom Brady. Kid's fucking good. I am breathing so heavily. Like, if you had never met me before, you would think I'm 400 pounds by the last few minutes of just me. Every fucking word. I don't know. No, Mac Jones is yeah, man, he looks good. The Sox are the. It's not happening this year. It is what it is. But that's what happens, man. I mean, some years we didn't have a good enough roster going in. I think, but I'm flustered right now. No, yeah, we didn't have a good enough roster going. I didn't have any expectations, so it's fine that we. I mean, it's not saying it's fine. It's a bummer, but although Travis shot a fucking grass line. I see. Here's the thing. It's like that fucking God Club. Like, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me right back in. Like, I spent 3 weeks, and then fucking yeah, I spent 3 weeks of just bitching about the Red Sox just tanking it, and then Travis Shaw hits one grand slam after in his first game back, and I'm like, maybe we do have it. We're so streaky. It's like we have the best offense in baseball when it's working, but we have like the 27th ranked defense and then like the 15th ranked staff. Like we're like a barely above 500 team on average. But if we're hot at the right time, we have maybe the best team in baseball, and it's insanely frustrating. But it's it's been interesting. Hopefully I can go to another couple games before the season's over. Feeling really good about my Celtics. They're probably the team I follow the hardest now. I used to be the Patriots and the Red Sox, but now I don't know why, I've really fallen in love with basketball in the last couple of years. Extending Marcus Smart. All you pieces of shit who have spent years upon years about talking shit about my favorite player probably ever at this point. Fuck, I'm so happy. I am so happy he signed that extension. I cannot. First of all, he's getting way underpaid. He's an All NBA defender getting paid like $17 million a year. And granted, that was the max he could earn. But and then they extended Josh Richardson, which they're probably going to trade him for him and Al, and probably another salary piece for Bradley Beal with some picks. If Beal forces his way to Boston, he says this is the only team that I'm willing to sign for, and the Celtics. So basically, I think what their plan is. Well, my thought what their plan was is to keep enough cap space open where they can look at the Wizards and be like, look, we can do this with cap space, so he can just sign here. But if you do a sign and trade, it'll be much easier for both of us. And I think that's what the plan was. And then now that they forced the Wizards' hand, either at the trade deadline or in the offseason, they're just going to swap salary pieces and swap salary, give him a couple picks, and then Bradley Beal will be on the Celtics, which would be very exciting. Although I wish it was Terry Rozier. Like, I know Bradley Beal's a much better player than Terry Rozier, but I just wish that we just kept that core together and didn't plan our entire future on fucking Kyrie Irving. It's it sucks, but good for Terry Rozier for getting his extension. Robert Williams is getting paid like $10 million a year for the next 4 years, which is going, if he can stay healthy, will be the biggest underpay maybe in the NBA because he is a star caliber center making $10 million, $12 million a year. I think it was 4 years, 48 with $6 million in incentives or something like that. So I'm excited, man. I think they're gonna shock the world this year. I don't think people realize. I think I talked about it last week, but people do not realize just how good the playmaking is on this roster. Now that they finally have people around Tatum and Brown who can hit shots, like Schroeder and Richardson, and if Aaron Nesmith is what he was in summer league, and Peyton Pritchard is what he was in summer league, and if Jalen and Tatum continue improving, which they have every year of their career, I think this is going to be. I think the Celtics have potential to be the second or third team in the East this year. I really believe that. I mean, look, the Bucks barely beat the Nets without Harden and Durant. All right, now I know everybody's. It's like, well, look, everybody loves Giannis. I love Giannis, but they won that series without Harden or Irving. Sorry, not Durant. Durant was amazing in that series. Kyrie or James Harden. No, Harden was playing, but he wasn't healthy and he looked fucking awful. But they won without Kyrie playing. Jason Tatum without Jaylen Brown playing with no good bench around him put up 50 and took one game from the Nets by himself. And in 2018, with Terry Rozier on the roster and Kyrie and Gordon Hayward hurt, 19-year-old Jason Tatum and 20-year-old Jaylen Brown defeated Giannis's Bucks. Now, the Bucks have improved a lot since then. They have a new coach who is not a good coach. And the Celtics have obviously changed a lot in the last couple of years. Tatum and Brown have the potential to beat Middleton and Giannis. Is what I'm saying. We beat them. We've already done it. We beat them in 7 games a couple of years ago. Philly, we've never had problems with Philly, and they can't even get off Ben Simmons. Like, I'm not scared of fucking Philly. The Hawks, I'm not scared of the Hawks. Dude, the Hawks were not that good. They were never that good. They just ran into some bad teams in the playoffs who weren't actually that good and didn't really deserve to be there, which made them look better. But the Knicks were never that good of a fucking team. The Hawks went on a fun run. That's nice. Good for them. They're not that good of a team. They get, Trae Young's good. He's real good. He's a very inefficient scorer. If you look at like all the other guys you're comparing him to, he's like not nearly as efficient as the other guy. And granted, he's hitting 40-foot shots and whatever, but Okongwu is very good. Collins is very good. They got I don't know what I'm saying now. Now I'm talking myself into being like, actually, the Hawks are really fucking good. The Hawks are really fucking good. So I think the Celtics and the Hawks, I would put them on the same level, is what I'm saying. Maybe the Celtics a little bit further. And they're both above the Sixers because fuck the Sixers. Fucking the Patriots have looked really good in preseason. Besides Mac Jones, the defense, man. This defense is gonna be scary. And I know that because I went to college to coach football and got hired, and then I didn't have the grades to get to actually do the job. So that's like football is the one sport I really do know. I was gonna be hired to work in the scouting department, and then as I was getting onboarded, my grades were not good enough. College was a weird time. But yeah. Also, I would have never been able to actually do that job because even on the day I interviewed, when they were like, "Oh, it starts at 5 a.m. every day," and I was like, "Yeah, no, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this." And I'm a comedian, and my job ends at like 3 a.m. every day. I say job like I make money off of it. Well, the job part is when you use the drink tickets to drink with your friends until 3 in the morning. Dude, I made it through all of fucking quarantines. Not sober, but I think I had 1 beer during quarantine. I stopped drinking in October of 2019. Made it through all of that, and then it ends, and then I was boozing it up for a few weeks, and now I kind of cut back again. But I think I have a much healthier relationship with alcohol than I used to. It used to be a coping mechanism. It was bad. I wasn't bad. Like I wasn't like drinking too much, like too often. I would just I couldn't have like 2 drinks. I had to black out every single time, which is not the healthiest habit. Should I just end it on that note? Like, hey, I used to have a problem. I used to be really depressed, guys. Bye. No. Although I don't really have anything else to talk about. Yeah. Yeah. I don't. This shouldn't be my closing joke, but I really don't have anything else right now. So I don't really know where I'm supposed to go from there. Do you guys like movies? Really, I got nothing going on. All right, I guess that's just the note I'm gonna end this on. Um, yeah, sure. All right. I'm trying to think. Is there any? Oh yeah, I was gonna say when I got wheelchaired in front of the stage. Is that my Paul Pierce moment in life where I get wheelchaired out? It looks like things are going really bad, and then I literally walked out of the show. I just got like an extra moment where I got to be closer than I've ever been to the band, and I got to go in front of the stage. Um, Maybe I'll fake a knee injury at every show just so I can do that, just so I can get a little bit closer each time, and then one time when I'm getting wheelchair across, just jump on the stage and hug them. No, um, ponchos or Jedi condoms. That was something I wrote the other day. These are my notes, guys. It's just just the ramblings of an insane person. No, actually, you know what I was thinking about is you know how like, all right, so because the Dead came up in the '60s, and you think about how big rock was back then, right? How people thought rock and roll was going to change the world, and like every time the Beatles released it was like like a major world event when a good band released something back then. Is that what TikTok kids are now? Like, is the Sway House the Beatles? You know what I mean? Where what other platform do you have where young people can instantly talk to each other and share their own ideas without necessarily being censored as much as they would if they're making the music industry has bastardized music so much that like everything that if you want to be popular, it has to be like this homogenized, already accepted sound. If you want to get it onto the Billboard Top 100, because it has to fit within the algorithm, right? And I guess with the TikTok kids, there is algorithms at play, but I think that's more of just like a response thing, you know, like the TikTok stars now are what rock and roll stars would have been then, whereas like that, rock and roll then you could just get world famous at 22 years old with no ability to like, you're too fucking young for that, and that doesn't, like it was happening instantly. It happened to so many people. Like I mean. Think of all of the legends from that era. We don't really have that in music anymore. I mean, we have like a lot of talented people, but like somebody could be a gigantic star with tens of millions of followers and you could never hear of them because there's so many people out today. Versus I think like the way these social media kids are, it's a little more controlled, but there's only a few that are that big. So I guess they are what rock and roll was then now. Like even if you have a podcast you're working forever, like there you have like a freedom. I just thought it was a really cool way to think of it. Of like, oh, that's my generation's version of what. Not that I'm not even on TikTok, but like I don't know who these people are. But that's like that is what would be the mainstream way to connect with people for my generation. That's what rock and roll was then. That's what movies were in the '70s. And I feel like every generation has their own version of it. Um, so yeah, I just thought that was an interesting way to look at society. But all right. What pisses me off is that about specifically about is that look, we can all acknowledge that Eric Clapton's an asshole, right? But we don't have to do this thing where just because you don't like him as a person, you pretend that he's not a fucking talented guitarist. Look, or if you want to say you get bored by his '70s music, sure, but boring and at home does not mean a lack of talent. That's a different fucking argument. Eric Clapton is one of the most universally respected guitarists ever. You cannot question his talent. I don't know. If you listen to a live tape of Blind Faith, you'll be like, this is one of the greatest guitarists who has ever touched his instrument. I mean, every guitarist of the '60s sounds like Eric Clapton because they all copied Eric Clapton. He's probably the single most influential guitarist ever besides Jimi Hendrix and maybe Eddie Van Halen. And I don't fucking like Van Halen's music. I hate all those shreddy guitars. I hate all that like arena rock, '70s, '80s shit. So that doesn't appeal to me. So I mean, and I love Hendrix, but a lot of it's just showmanship. Whereas like I think his studio stuff and his like jams are way better than like you know I don't know. You'd have to watch Jimi Hendrix. Like there's like a famous story about the second night when they were recording Band of Gypsies. It was the New Year's Eve run in 1969. Bill Graham asked him like, just stop doing the fucking theatrics. Just stand there and play, and because he was recording a live album, and Bill Graham was just like, you're making the music worse by playing to the audience rather than just playing for it to sound right. And his live recordings are different on that. Some of his live. I guess what I'm saying is like when he has there's a live Hendrix tape, and some of them you can tell he's playing the audience. Some of them he's actually on. Where it's about the playing. So I think Clapton style appeals to me more because I like the cleaner players that more than like the feedback and distortion based players. Like I like. I mean, Clapton's not even my favorite guitarist of the '60s, or neither Clapton or Hendrix are. It's I mean, Jerry number one, but then number two would be Mike Bloomfield, who is the best white blues guitarist ever. I mean, this is a guy who came up on the South Side. He was taught in person by like Buddy Guy and Muddy Waters and how like Otis Spann, Otis Rush, and then Peter Green, Fleetwood Mac guitarist. The best era of Fleetwood Mac is the Peter Green era. B.B. King has the greatest quote about Peter Green. It was that he was the only one who ever gave me the cold sweats. That's how good of a guitarist Peter Green was. That B.B. King, the most universally respected blues guitarist ever, is like this guy. He gave me the chills. He gave me the cold sweats. The best era of Fleetwood Mac is Peter Green. If you've never done the deep dive into him, I mean, his tone is just haunting. It's beautiful. He's just, like I said, I just used the word beautiful. That's how you know I've been doing drugs. And that's the perfect note to end on. See, we got a call back. We were working towards something. I had to figure out something. And we did it, Finally found a joke at the end. See, if you stuck along for the ride, you really earned that last punchline. All right, thank you guys for listening. I've been Josh Goldstein, and this has been
As the deathly silence settles over the whole pavilion and we realize that we've overloaded everything and the final fuse is blown, the helicopters will still be flying out the wounded and the green-tabbed acid takers will be saying to one another, I took that green stuff and I feel great. What's all the hassle? Yeah, I can only be scared so long until I'm going to start saying, hey man, I trust you, if you're going to give me some stuff that's a bummer, I'm not going to quit taking it just because, to blow the trust.
All the power is gone from the left side of the stage, and so we're going to hassle and try to get it back. I'm going to tell you a story.
Hello, people. Just a little pause here. I'd like to tell you something. My name's Country Joe. I just want to tell you something about, all us people from the Bay Area, we're real LSD freaks. We take a lot of LSD. We've taken a lot of LSD. We know what LSD is. But I'll tell you one thing, the stuff that they're passing out here today may or may not be LSD, but there's a chance that you won't have a very good trip. Now what you're supposed to do after you know that is you're supposed to stop taking it. Now if you've taken it already, don't worry because you're not poisoned and you won't die. But if you haven't taken it, I would recommend that you don't take it. And just listen to the music and wait till you can get some stuff that you know is good, if that's your inclination. That's called common sense. Right on.
Country common sense from us folks out in the Bay City.
Whoa! Yeah. Well, I've seen the sunrise. I've seen the sunrise over the lake, the great lake. And set over the Pacific Ocean and rise over the Atlantic. And there's just a thing I'd like to say here tonight for everyone here, and that's
There's another coast. Yeah, it's just another coast. It's a third coast.